All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Unicorn Connector Show. We are going to have an incredible show today as this has the potential to help business owners reconnect with a substantial amount of money that is also a great opportunity for connectors to make some additional cash by helping them. So, everybody, please welcome Debbie Merrick at DM Business Advisors. Debbie is a successful entrepreneur who has helped connect hundreds of business owners and nonprofits to claim over $50 million in ERTC stimulus money as part of the CARES Act. During our call today, Debbie will share her expertise on how you can claim up to $26,000 per W-2 employee employed during 2020 and 2021. This is an opportunity that we have helped countless businesses access the money that would have otherwise been left on the table. And I'm excited to dig into it with Debbie today. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Debbie Merrick. Debbie, welcome to the show. Please say hello. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you, Daniel. I'm so excited to be here and a newer member of the Unicorn Universe. So I'm just thankful to be a part of your community. It's pretty amazing. And really, the biggest thing about my background is that I have been an entrepreneur. So when I had the opportunity to help all the businesses that I have over the last 18 months, it was pretty easy to just jump in and want to make a difference because I had a bricks and mortar furniture home and gift boutique down in Old Town Scottsdale here during the 2008 recession. So I really understood what people were dealing with everything that happened with the lockdowns and the restrictions and things like that. So
yeah, awesome. Well, I am very grateful for you for coming on today. And I love that you have gone through all sorts of different things in business. It can be challenging for business owners to know about all the different ways that they can grow their business and access different things that are available to them. So it's one of the reasons I'm really excited about the show today. I know that this specific opportunity has helped so many different businesses, and a lot of people just didn't even know that it was an option, that it was available for people. So I think that that's awesome. Now, before we get started, I do just want to let everybody who's watching know that this is meant to be interactive. If you have any questions as we go along, please feel free to let us know, and we will do our best to answer them. Go ahead and just put any comments in the chat, and we'll get you taken care of. And also, if you are watching, let us know where you are at. Debbie's in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm in snowy Utah. And it doesn't seem to want to stop. But
wow.
So let's get into it.
It's April.
I know. Well, Utah, it has snowed here in May. So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, and this year's probably going to be one of those years, but that's why I want to move to Arizona. So, Debbie, can you tell us a little bit about your experience getting into this? How did you get into the business of helping businesses claim the ERTC stimulus money?
Great question. I actually, after closing our business in 2010, and we pretty much lost everything at that point. And so I was really became very interested in business finance and business lending. And I actually got involved in 2017. I got involved with a company that was a wealth management company that actually had specialty tax strategies as part of their company. And I learned about what the 1% does. They actually don't pay a lot of taxes because there's over 1,100 programs that are available to over 5 W-2 employees or more companies. And so, I just got a mini MBA in some of the real big business strategies, but that fact that there's a lot of those strategies that are available for mid to, even smaller businesses that have, like I said, over 5 employees. So when COVID hit, in 2020, I had a colleague that we were both doing business development with, and he actually had started his own tax incentive agency to where he was already starting to help people. And he said, wow, do you want to get on, involved and help people? And I was like, absolutely. I said, I mean, I've seen what has happened to all these businesses and nonprofits and churches shutting down and all this stuff. And I couldn't sit on the sidelines and do nothing. And it was just all of a sudden, like, the more I just reached out to people and asked them, like, how are they doing? Did you get your PPP money? Maybe there might be some more money available. And the thing at that time, it wasn't as widespread. I mean, I know people are, getting a lot bombarded by a lot of advertising and different things, but at that time, it still was really kind of in a mystery. People were like, I heard about this, but I don't know. And, there's just a lot of unknowns. And, because of just stepping into that, kind of blindly in a way, I mean, it's just been such a blessing. I can't even tell you like how many people we've actually either saved their business, or if they had to close, we were able to go back and claim money that was due to them because of this situation. So, I mean, it's just, I could, go story after story of, just people. And, I just tell people that, it's worth a second look. I mean, if somebody's told you that you don't qualify, I'm not saying you will, but there have been a lot of cases where we have been able to help people that were told they could not get the money.
That's awesome. So I'm curious, we're going to be talking about this ERTC the entire show, right? Can you tell us a little bit about what it is? Why does it even exist?
Yeah, because like I said, I just
started with that.
I know, because
So
I get
ERTC?
Correct. And this is the thing, I get just passionate about the fact that, like, even if I can't help somebody, like, I would, I still have people that reach out to me because there are other connectors and other, some avenues that might, be a good match for them. But for the ERTC, it is part of the CARES Act of the COVID relief. And a lot of the people, got their PPP money, and that's through the SBA. So this is different. This is not a loan. This is actually through the IRS and the Treasury. So what they're doing is, this is actually a wage reimbursement. So it's not a tax. So that's where people get a little like in the weeds with this, is that they're actually amending your payroll for those 6 quarters of Q2 2020 through Q3 of 2021. And that's for established businesses. And they can get up to, like you said, up to $26,000 per W-2 employee that were, it's up to $5,000 for 2020 and then up to $21,000 for 2021. So it's also for startups. So if you actually started a business during COVID, which we have helped some, we helped a manufacturer, we've helped some restaurants, and they had W-2 employees, you can actually get up to $100,000 for Q3 and Q4 of 2021. So it's $50,000 per quarter. That's maximum. But you have to have not made over $1 million in your first 12 months of business, which was kind of funny because we actually had a Culver's that was in Ohio that unfortunately they made like $5 million in the first 12 months. So it was like, whoops, sorry, we can't help you. But yeah, so literally, like, the people that we're helping, I mean, you have to have a minimum of 2 W-2 employees that are not the owner, not the spouse, or the kids. So if it's a cousin or if it's a mom, dad, grandma, anybody else on the payroll, those are considered wages that can be counted towards the amount. So
awesome. Okay. So it sounds like there's definitely a lot that goes into the qualification. And you said 26,000 per employee, right? Is there a maximum number of employees or a maximum amount that you can claim?
Good question. So for 2020, it's a maximum of 100 employees. And for 2021, it's a maximum of 500 employees. Now, there are programs over 500 employees, but it's based on when there were the shutdowns and for people that they actually had to employ during that shutdown. So if there were those types of compensation for employers, then they take that into consideration with larger than 500. But typically, I mean, the people we're working with mainly are between, the 2 and, a couple hundred is what we've really been working with. So.
Okay. Got it. Yes. That sounds like it can be a lot of money coming back to a business. I mean,
Oh yeah.
26,000 times 500 employees. Holy cow. I mean, that would be the
Yeah,
maximum,
that's a great payday, right? That's a
Yeah.
good one. I know. And the thing is, I mean, think about like even just a simple, like a small church. I mean, the average that we're getting back for churches and like that are 3, 4, 5 employees is an extra, that's like $50,000, I mean, that is a big deal, So I tell people like, don't sell yourself short on this because, I would hate for somebody, and I've had people that have almost, trusted in their own understanding instead of saying, hey, you know what, it's worth it just to have somebody else look at what we had during that time because people forget.
Yeah. 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 That's amazing. I mean, that can be so impactful. I mean, talk about reconnecting to your business's money, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
this is money that you've already made. I mean, you made the revenue and then you paid it out to these employees. And then now it's like, okay, they're saying, hey, you know what? Because you went through some of the things that you went through during those times, you're entitled to it.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love that you're helping people with this, and you're just a great person that I, personally, as you know, obviously, I had my mom work with you on this, and you've been an amazing support for her and walking her across that finish line. And, it doesn't have to be hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in recovered money. Just a $20,000, $50,000
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
recovery credit is amazing. I mean, that's cash in the bank, right? So
Yeah.
I love that. So tell me, how can people figure out if they qualify? What does that process look like? Because I know a lot of people are probably hearing this and thinking, this sounds great, but
Yeah.
I hate dealing with this kind of stuff. Like, how do you
Yeah.
help people through that process?
So the big thing that I tell people is that it really matters who is doing this work for you. And it's not about the calculation because yes, there are people that, they can figure out how to do this. Like it's not like complete rocket science. The part that gets more impactful and important for the business owner is that you are basically retaining in this case an enrolled agent. So you're not just having some a bookkeeper or an accountant or somebody who they're good with numbers and they know what they're doing with maybe even some tax preparation or even a regular CPA. These are people that have had extra training from the IRS, and they typically also specialize in some of these specialty tax programs that I was talking about in the beginning of the interview. And it's a big deal, especially with some of the tax code changes that have happened, because this has had modifications over the 2 years. So that's why I say to people like, hey, you know what? You have great people on your team, I'm sure, as accountants and CPAs, and even CFOs. I mean, great people. But if they're not working on this on a daily basis, like our experts have been and are every day, and the other thing, something that happened to me was that I found that I even had to reach out to different firms because some firms are more comfortable with certain industries like construction and medical and manufacturing versus just, some of the easier ones, which are restaurants, the churches, nonprofits, some of the events, businesses, things like that. So again, I can't say this enough because, just for example, I had a woman in Salem, Oregon, who had a steakhouse there. She had a steakhouse in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. She had 2 different CPA firms. Neither one of them looked at this for her. We found her over $400,000. And she was so angry. And I was like, I felt for her, but I said, look, they are doing their job. They don't know how to do this. They're not doing it, obviously. And so this saved her business in Lake Havasu City.
Wow. So we've got Misty Morrison watching, and her comment, perfect for this. That's so much money being left on the table. Like, I can't even handle that. And it just breaks my heart because I can't even imagine how many people have talked to their CPA about it and been told, no, don't do this. No, I can't help you with this, whatever that reason might be, and just gave up on it, right? And left that money on the table. So, I think that it's important that people, like you were saying earlier, get that second look, right?
Yeah.
Figure out if you do qualify, because otherwise, who knows how much money you can be leaving on the table? That could be substantial, right?
Yeah.
So,
and with that point, I have to tell you something else that actually has been coming up a lot, like in the last couple of weeks, is that a lot of people only did for 2020. They did not do the ERTC for the quarters in 2021. So that being said, I had a restaurant bar in Los Angeles that she reached out to me through another referral partner that I have. And she was just blown away because she goes, I felt like I didn't get enough money. She's like, it just didn't seem like enough money. And sure enough, when I looked at just the documents that she sent over Saturday night, she's going to get more. And so there are people that because their accountant just decided, oh, you know what? I don't think you qualify for all the quarters. They're leaving, again, more money on the table. So that's where, again, I don't even care if people reach out to me and they may, maybe they did get all their money, but I would rather have a double check, depending on how many quarters they got. Because if they got really especially as a restaurant or, businesses that had to shut down for, 3 months, 6 months. Some of the, depending on the state, it's some of them are like Washington State, Oregon, New York, Connecticut, some of these, they really shut down for a lot longer than where I am in Arizona. But again, there's still parameters that may qualify them. And that's where, again, there is a lot of information going out about, companies not doing the right thing, taking people's money, not doing the calculations correctly, things like that. And, for us, because we have licensed enrolled agents, you're not going to run into, that kind of situation.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So what would you say has been some of the biggest challenges that some of these small business owners face when claiming the ERTC? And then how can Unicorn Connectors help them? Because we're going to get into that and how it all ties together. Right?
Oh my gosh.
How can we help people with this amazing opportunity?
It's huge. It's really, I can't even believe the opportunities when I understand, talking to some of my referral partners, how it's opened up doors for their business. because when you are really coming of service, to somebody, and you're just asking them about their business and saying like, hey, how are you doing? And especially, I mean, I only had like 1 or 2 employees when I had my boutique, but I mean, some of these people, I mean, when I talk to these people, I mean, I have so much respect for them. I mean, they have 40, 50 employees, 20, 10, I mean, whatever. And it's like, it's been so difficult for them. It's just, and sometimes, I mean, people cry on the phone with me. I mean, they tell me like, like they just don't know what they're going to do. They've had, outside help from other consultants, because I work with business consultants that go on site to companies to do all kinds of like revamping of their systems and things like that. And I mean, people like grown men that are like, in construction, and they're really tough guys, and they're, practically crying on the phone to me because they just don't know what to do, because they're just, feeling like so much happened to them that was beyond their control. And they're just trying to make the best of it because everything's going up in price. Labor's been going up in price. The cost of goods are going up in price. I mean, the supply chain has been, kind of strange, and it's good and bad for different industries, so it's just, to me, it's like being of service to someone as another entrepreneur or another, even if you work inside of another company, it's like, anybody that you're doing business with, or, your favorite restaurant that you're going to. Like I had one of my guys that, he has a deli that he goes to, and where his executive suite is, and, talked to him like last week, and he was still like, oh my gosh, the money's still there. And I was like, yeah, I'm like, you need to apply because we still have time, but we don't know exactly how much time. But it's just, to me, when you can bring value, added value to someone, and they're not even expecting it. I mean, case in point, I've worked with the Arizona Trade Exchange here, which is a barter, trade organization. And literally I've had, some of those people reach out to me, and just, because they're in a different business, they're in the trade business, but the fact that we were able to help some of the members in there, I mean, one was like 250,000, another one was like 50,000. So, I mean, again, those people are going to remember you as a business owner, or you as a professional. I mean, if you're, maybe like a financial planner, or even if you are in the tax, or in, like bookkeeping, or you have, some other services that you offer in coaching or something like that. I mean, that would be really value added, because they're going to remember you, and they're going to want to work with you. And, I mean, the biggest thing that I went out, and when I was like ignorance on fire, and I literally was just asking them about the PPP loans, because that's the easiest way to open up the conversation, because people, I mean, always are talking about that. Like they're always talking about like, wow, I got the money and it was forgiven, and, all of that. So yeah, I mean, it's just having a conversation. It's not being, inauthentic, it's like, I mean, nobody's going to get mad at you. I mean, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, if you haven't got it and you can, it's like, why not explore that opportunity? And can people get both the PPP and the ERTC?
Yeah. So this is a good point. So a lot of times people are, getting information, it's like we're playing a game of telephone where there's different connections that are being made communication wise. And so we've had people that have thought that because they got the PPP, that means that they can't get the ERTC. And that was correct in the beginning of this. And that because nobody was applying for the ERTC, and they had given, over $80 billion originally for this program, they had to open it up, so So they were being very conservative in the beginning, and then they opened it up to where, more and more people were qualifying based on just, because they do take the PPP funds out of the calculations. So that's very important, because if you are working, let's say you're working with somebody on the ERTC already and they weren't taking those PPP loan amounts out, that means they're doing it wrong.
Okay. And that's why it's so important to have somebody like an EA on your team.
Yeah, exactly.
Help them qualify for it.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. So I know that you've got a way for people to kind of self-qualify and get everything over to you. And I'm curious kind of if you can walk us through that part of the process a little bit. So for everybody watching and listening, there's a QR code in the background. And then also, if you go to the link, you can go to ertc.unicornuniverse.io. And that'll take you to a page where you can start the process, begin qualifying. Can you tell us a little bit about how that looks and what people are going to see when they go there? And then, things to kind of look out for. And do they need anything in advance to begin that process?
The biggest thing is when you fill out the form, they just ask a couple of questions about your business. This is not this is the other thing that's a little strange out there, is that there are these websites that you can go on and apparently they can tell you with, some magic or something, I don't know, but it's that's impossible. It's we're just collecting some information about your business, but we're not going to be telling you the amount at the end of the form, submit and then here's the amount, that's ridiculous. But I've seen people that have actually had that given to them, and I'm like, nope, that's not really this. And
it's never correct.
It's never correct. No, exactly. And even myself, doing over 300 files, because I help facilitate the documents to the processor, so that way, I'm involved, but I also am not the one that can tell you how much you're going to get. And so once you fill out that form, then either myself or one of, I have a couple of people on my team that reach out to do a discovery call. And that way, learn a little bit more about your business. And then we have some instructions, and we also have a portal that you can put your documents securely onto that. And so really, it's pretty simple, but again, sometimes things that are simple are also not always easy to do for people, because if you have your payroll, whether it's through ADP or Paychecks, or maybe you're doing it on QuickBooks, you can upload your 941s from those 6 quarters, and then you also have the payroll reports that are quarterly, broken down by employee. And I also have some Google Docs documents that kind of give, some samples, because, again, I tell people there's no stupid question on this, because I work with sophisticated CFOs, CPAs, and everyone is in the same boat. Everyone's doing this for this first time. So it's not like there's anything that you're going to be oh my gosh, I'm doing this wrong, Right. I just want people to do this, if they can do it, all at once, so that we're not going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And again, we understand there's people that, man, you know what, people's, accountants disappeared, or they died, or they just, changed a payroll company, or, things happen. And so, there's also ways that you can, get your transcripts from the IRS for your 941s if you don't have those. So we really try to help you maneuver through some of those challenging things that may come up.
Okay, got it. So I wanted to point out, Misty mentioned that this isn't the kind of thing that you want to bargain hunt for. So that being said, I'm curious to know what kind of fees are involved. Sure. Are people are they paying up front for this? How does that all work? Because I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, I'm already paying, my CFO or my financial professional, my CPA, whoever it might be. So if they're telling me I can't do it, I don't want to spend all this extra money just to not be able to do it again, right? So can you tell me a little bit about how that looks?
Okay, yes. So we do not charge any upfront fees, and we really want to maximize the opportunity for every single business out there, because there are companies that are, charging thousands of dollars up front. And I mean, yes, this is pretty much, when you put the claims in, you will get the money. It's not like an underwriting situation with the SBA, like a loan or something. So you are going to get the money. It's just a matter of when. And that's the big thing right now, is that it's taking a long time, and there are, and have been issues with lost files, lost quarters in the system, because everything has to be manually put in at the IRS, page by page, scanned in. So, yeah. So.
Okay. So no upfront fees.
Oh, and then we have we have a contingency fee of 15% of the claim amount. So
Okay.
it's not based on, there's actually going to be interest that you're going to get. And so they do not charge based on the interest, that's your money. So the 15%, a lot of times it, ends up maybe like 12, 13%, based on how much money you're getting as far as interest. So I just tell people like, hey, and what's great is that you'll never pay a fee without getting a check, because you, as the business owner, you get the money directly from the Treasury. So you're going to get most likely multiple checks, and you're letting us know. And then we also have power of attorneys, so that we can check on the files for you. And this way you don't have to necessarily like sit on the phone for hours and do that. So.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So 15% on the amount that you get, but not on the interest. Cool.
Correct.
So I'm curious, how long does it take for people to fill out that initial form? And what if they're not sure about, certain things on there? Is there contact info anywhere?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is like, I would rather have somebody just screw up the form. I mean, the form is really just for us to have like basic information. And then once we do like our call together and get a little bit more information, and we also have like a form as part of the document collection for supply chain disruptions, because again, it's been a little while since some of this stuff happened. So people are kind of forgetting, I think maybe they're trying to forget. But I, tell people like, hey, do your best at, getting us as, correct information, as specific as possible. But I also don't want people to feel like, if they don't feel like they have it perfect, it's like, don't beat themselves up and don't submit documents, because we would rather work with, what we have. And, I've even had some people like, they just couldn't come up with some of the quarters or something. So then we just did part of it, I mean, it's not an all or nothing thing. So that's where I tell people, it's like, we want to work with you. We want to come up with the right solution, what makes sense for your business. And, I mean, to me, it's your money, so like, if you feel like you had situations that happened to you and things that impacted your business, it's like, it's worth having a conversation about it. It's not saying that it's going to happen, but like I said, I've had more people that have just wanted to credit, themselves, like, and say, no, disqualify themselves and say, oh no, I just, I don't qualify for that. And it's like, well, how do you know? Like,
Yeah.
like because you read something on, on a website, or you had a conversation with a friend at a networking event or something, it's like, to me, it just doesn't make any sense from that standpoint. But then at the same time, I mean, I get it. It's like the relationships that people have with their CPAs, especially, they run deep, and to me, the last thing we want to do is disrespect your CPA or do anything. We actually want to be a part of your tax team. We want to be that extra person that helps with this particular claim. And then, there might also be, going down the road, there might be some other specialty tax credits that you might qualify for. And so then that case, we could be that expert for you instead of like competing. Like, we're not competing against you. So.
Yeah, I always like to say collaboration over competition.
Exactly. I mean, because everybody, I mean, I don't know how many thousands of the tax code, credits. I mean, you couldn't be an expert at everything. I mean, it's impossible. And if somebody tells you they are, I mean, I think they're, just a little full of it,
Yeah. Yeah. So it's worth having a conversation, 100%. And we did set up this way to connect with you in case, maybe somebody's not feeling comfortable with filling out the qualification form, but they just want to have that conversation. So we did set up, if you just go to debbiemerrick.unicornuniverse.io, that'll send your information to Debbie and she'll reach out and just have that conversation, see if it's something that makes sense to take to that next step. I would definitely recommend just filling out the form because it's not like you're submitting it to the IRS, but it's a good first step. But either way, want to give people that option as well. So I think it's really important that people know what their, options are and know what makes sense. So I am curious, we talked about how connectors can get involved with helping businesses with this, being a connector myself and having set up, a lot of different people in my network that we've helped generate a pretty substantial amount of credits recovered as well. I know that it can be very lucrative for not only the business owner, but the connector. And so I'm curious, how would that work for connectors who know a lot of business owners? Maybe they're in some remote areas that maybe this hasn't been talked about as much, or maybe they just know a lot of people that might qualify for it and they want to help. They want to connect people, connect the dots, right? That's what connectors do, right? So
Absolutely.
Can you tell me how that works as connectors?
Okay. So what we did was, because my husband and I have had a digital marketing firm since 2010. So we actually set up this funnel. We've set up the whole marketing system to where literally as a connector working with us, we just really want someone who is qualified, and we will pay people for these, legitimate connections. I mean, my biggest thing is that, we just don't want to chase after people. And the thing is, I had one guy that he knew a lot of restaurants, and sometimes, he'd be like, Debbie, he's like, you need to call this guy and da 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 da. And it's like, wait a minute. It's like, that's the phone number to the restaurant. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I have to go through a 17-year-old girl to get to the owner. I go, I can do that. I said, I don't need to pay you, as a connector to do that. And so that's where, again, because if you have that relationship with that business owner or the person that founded the nonprofit, it's like, hey, you know what? It's like, obviously, we will set people up with their own link. So they will have the same kind of form for people to fill out. And we also have done a lot on like group text and introduction emails and things like that, because we know that business owners are super busy, and to get their attention for 5 seconds, and I mean, really don't need that much time. I mean, we need like literally 10 minutes on the phone with them. So that's the biggest thing. If I am or my team is running into a problem getting in touch with that person, we might ask for a little bit of backup from you. But for the most part, I mean, you're not collecting documents, you're not, calling people to check status or anything like that. So, we just, have been so grateful to, I think we have, just not including your group, we have probably about 70 referral partners that we've worked with over the last 18 months. And we have paid out 6 figures in referral fees. And pretty much, every month, we're paying more money. And so, I mean, some people like forget, like they are like, wow, I forgot I referred so-and-so. And, and then we also have a full CRM and, to check on, so you can check on your files and things like that. So we've made it really fun, like really easy. And like I said, I mean, I'm more than happy to jump on a call with somebody. If somebody, has a big group of people and they need, like me to do like a training or to get, involved with, another, media outlet for them, or, maybe they have a podcast or something. So I've done, different things. I have one YouTuber that I work with in the financial space. And I mean, literally for doing a 30-minute video from his house in Chandler, he's made over $50,000. So it's like, he really hasn't, I mean, I think that's a little, I mean, we've done, I'm sure he's made a few phone calls or text messages beyond that, but not too much. I mean, to be honest with you. So, but again, he already had, he had an influence. I mean, he had an audience of people, and that's where a lot of the people that I know you guys are connected to, you guys have the same types of connectors.
Yeah, well, and you have this set up in a way that's so streamlined that all people need to do is share their link, right?
Right.
That's one of my favorite ways to, make connections that generate revenue. We talked about relationships, revenue, and referrals. This checks all of those boxes. And so I love it. And I love that this is a great way for connectors to generate money by helping businesses recover money. It helps you make money, them make money, everybody. And it's just an amazing opportunity. So, and, I love that as a connector, a lot of connectors don't have employees, right? So a lot of people might have been watching wondering why this is up on the Connector Show. That's because they can help other businesses.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh.
They get paid a percentage as well. So there's a fee involved. That's where that comes from. And it's, directly from the IRS. So it's all awesome. Like, I love it,
Well, and to that point is that I actually had a gal who reached out, thought maybe she could qualify. She had to shut her business down during COVID, and she was actually in the group home industry. And we started talking even after I knew I couldn't help her because she didn't have a bank account. She didn't have her EIN number anymore. She just, had basically, been uncollectible from the IRS. And all of a sudden I told her, I said, man, I said, if you're in that industry, I said, how many of those businesses could we, potentially help? And sure enough, I mean, she took me serious, and I'm not kidding. I think we've helped probably about either 15, maybe 20 companies in California that were affected for the group home industry because of having that conversation.
Wow.
And
sorry.
I know. It just was, I mean, to me, it's a healing, for her, because I mean, she actually had to close her business, and, she just, sometimes it's like the pain that you go through, it's like there's purpose behind that, and to where, and it can move into a different season of your life, and to me, it's just been so, I've been so grateful, like working with her, because I know she's going through a rough time herself, but because she's helping other people while she's in a difficult time, it's actually helping her.
Got it. Awesome. So I'm curious, you mentioned group homes. I'm curious what kind of other businesses are generally getting this credit. Like, are
Okay.
there, similar industries or types of businesses that you see commonly that do qualify for this?
Well, of course, restaurants and bars and other food related businesses, like in catering. We've also had like a bartending business, events, anything that was affected by live events, travel, also manufacturing. Quite a few of those. We've also worked with other medical clinics like chiropractors, dentists, regular practice, internal medicine. We've also worked with nonprofits. We've worked with the churches, particularly actually the Catholic churches. We've also, like today, actually, I got documents for another one here locally. And so a lot of construction related, trade services, mechanics, like oil change. We've worked with gyms. They were, I mean, my gosh, I've had some in Oregon and Washington State that, I mean, I don't even know how they're still open. I mean, they must have been doing all their workouts outside, with all their people,
Yeah.
And so we also have been helping, like preschool, the academies for kids, for like daycare. We've also helped salons. Those were very much shut down. We've had just retail, like myself, and I mean, the only ones that were really not helping, I think it's easier maybe to talk about that a little bit, is like the real estate people, mortgage, investment, unless they had quite a few employees and it really affected their bottom line. Because we've had a couple, but it's not as usual as some of the other industries. But, if your business, I mean, some businesses could pivot pretty easily. Case in point, we actually had a welding company in Los Angeles that they made a lot more money during COVID, but one of the parameters of the ERTC is that if you had an industry that did shut down, that affected more than 10% of your revenue, and in this case with the welding company, that 10% of business came from the entertainment and the movie production companies, because they were working with like Star Wars and Marvel and all of these for all their welding their spaceships and buildings and things like that. So we were able to help that business claim over $600,000. So, to me, it's like, that's why we have to see the documents and we have to have those conversations with you as the business owner, because something could come out without even really understanding until like all of a sudden you're like, whoa, yeah, that happened to me. And that's where we do the research. We do all of that kind of stuff with you.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, so there's not a ton of businesses that don't really qualify for it, but ultimately, if you've been impacted by COVID and you had or have W-2 employees, it's worth checking out, right?
Yep.
So I'm curious, as far as the unicorn connectors or, connectors in general are concerned, can you tell me a little bit about maybe some of your affiliates that have really been successful with this? You talked about the guy that, did a 30-minute video. What are some other ways that you've seen people be really successful with this, and how has that
Um,
impacted their life?
I have a couple of influencers on IG, and one, she actually lost 6 businesses herself during COVID in Oregon again. And because of that, she's become a big activist. And she, um, we've just worked together for the last 12 months, and it's close to 6 figures by the time it's all done. I've also had another gal who her husband's a chiropractor here in Scottsdale, and she was also in M&A, really big, business, and she, just connected us with just all kinds of chiropractors and other businesses around the country, and it also led to a pretty big connection with a business consulting firm nationally. So it's, and then at the same time, I've had a few people that they just hey, I had the ice cream shop guy down the street, and I talked to him, and this one gal, I mean, she's in ministry, and she just was like, hey, I just am in this small town in New Jersey, and I just started talking to people, and I mean, these people were so grateful. Little ice cream shop guy, he was just like, oh my gosh, I had no idea, because he was like thinking, no, I can't get any money. He's like, I feel like maybe I'm too small. And it's like, and that's the other thing, is that we do not discriminate against the smaller companies, because some firms will only take 5 and over employees, and that's not the tax code. It's 2 employees or more. So we've had some really small claims, but honestly, sometimes I'm more excited about those because I know what it really means.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I love about this too, is that, and for connectors specifically, they're always out there looking for ways to add value. This is a great way to do it.
Yeah.
We give people access to all these different resources, strategies that can really help take people's businesses to the next level. You mentioned saving a business, right? So I just think that it's an amazing opportunity. And whether it's a couple $1,000 that you get from a single, or a couple of tax credits that you help people recover, or a couple $100,000. I mean, we've got people in our network that have generated that. And I know you do too, right? I mean, someone just off the top of my head that's cleared over 250K from this. So, and helping with millions of dollars of credits. So the world is your oyster, right? And so it's just so important to make these connections. And so, yeah, I just think it's awesome. So I know we're kind of we're running to the top of the hour here. Is there anything that you want to kind of leave people with, anything to think about, or, what would be the best way to connect with you? What do you recommend people do as a next step?
I mean, as far as connectors go, I mean, I would love to brainstorm with you. I mean, I'm very creative, and I've done, some different things. Like I said, we've done trainings, we've done, just like scripts, we've done flyers, we have PDFs, we have all different things, like, and if you have an idea about something, I mean, we're open to that as well. But the biggest thing is, like, really there's so many people out there that still haven't done it. Like people keep saying like, oh, I'm sure everybody's done it by now. And it's like, no, they really haven't. And it's like, yes, it's more in the mainstream and people are like, oh, I hear this on the radio and I hear that, it's on my Instagram and my algorithm, it's all over the place. But at the same time, I mean, if they know you, they want to do business with you. They're going to trust you versus like the guy, the law firm of blah, 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 I mean, they don't know who that is. So they would rather do business with you, somebody that they know, they trust. And the other thing is if people need testimonies from us, we're more than happy to give those. We have lots of testimonies. We have, and we just specifically, I mean, the other thing just to note is that because of the capacity that we've done, since we've done 50 million, we actually had to include other firms in the referrals, because one of our EAs, he actually got burnt out at the end of October. And so after doing, like, personally, he did, for me, he did about 30 million, but he overall did like 500 million on his own with his group. And I was like, dude, I'm like, it was hard because I had to go out and find another, firm or two to support. But at the same time, I am working with people that have at least been in business for over 20 years. One of them actually is over 40 years. It's a second generation firm out of Texas. And so, not having a problem, referring out, even if you personally haven't done business, with it, because like you said before, the connectors are probably not, the ones that may have the W-2 employees, but, we will take care of people. And even if we can't help people, I mean, I treat people, all equally so that, at least they feel like they got their answers to their questions.
All right. Awesome. Well, and I know there are other ways that you'll be able to help them even after this is all taken care of. So
yeah, and that's what actually we were really forced to do, because we knew that ERTC was, changing. So we are shifting to more of a concierge model where we are going to be doing things with like workman's comp and business funding and some different things. And actually, we are still looking for some avenues in which, for other revenue streams. So if that's something also that you like, know about, that's, we're open for that as well. So. Like I said, I mean, I love connecting people too. I've done it like for 30 plus years myself in everything that I'm doing. And so if I can help anybody out there, listening, I'd be more than happy to, have a conversation.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's amazing. And I really appreciate you sharing all of this information with everybody. Highly recommend connecting with Debbie. You can find her on LinkedIn. I think it's Girl with Vision, right? Is that your LinkedIn handle? Yep. Okay, cool. Or of course, go to debbiemerrick.unicornuniverse.io. Reach out to me on LinkedIn and I'll make that connection happen as well. So Debbie, I can't thank you enough. And I hope that you have an excellent rest of your day. Thanks for helping all these different businesses with this and sharing the information. So, and for everybody watching, thank you as well. We really appreciate it. And have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.